Let me turn to our two guests here this morning to debate this Arizona immigration law. Let me begin with Ali Noorani, Executive Director at the National Immigration Forum, and Dan Stein, President of the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Dan Stein, what do you like about the immigration law? Why do you support it?
It's extremely important right now for the American people to get clear guidance on what Congress and the states have laid out in terms of their role in immigration. In this particular case, Arizona has set out some provisions which we feel, and I think Arizona does, are entirely consistent with federal immigration laws passed by Congress. The administration has sued Arizona and a number of other states, and part of the reason why we've seen some delay in other states acting is they want to see what the Supreme Court's going to do here. But Arizona has made it abundantly clear it's not trying to make its own immigration laws or anything else. It's simply trying to assist the executive branch in carrying out what Congress has required the executive branch to do. Now, this case is very interesting because the executive branch is taking the position that Congress has said they can do whatever they want as long as they're not enforcing the law, and therefore they don't want to enforce the law with respect to most illegal immigrants, and therefore they're not going to enforce the law. This is what they've told us, told the American people, and they're mad at Arizona and other states because these states are pressuring the Obama administration to, in fact, carry out the letter of immigration law that Congress has passed. Now, if you read the executive branch brief in this case, they're trying to make the argument that Congress doesn't require the executive branch, if it identifies an illegal immigrant, to put them in deportation proceedings, but instead allows the executive branch to create classifications of its own making without review, without any public inspection, and turn around and just rewrite the immigration law for its own political reasons. And at stake here is the integrity of our federal system, the executive in making the immigration laws, the legislative in making the immigration law, the executive in carrying them out, and states in assisting in that process consistent with the federal scheme.
What do you think is at the heart of it?
Well, at the heart of this case is congressional intent. The Supreme Court is going to take a look at the federal immigration law and try to figure out whether or not Congress intended for the federal government to preempt, if you will, any state involvement in assisting in immigration law enforcement. And of course, we know that's not true. We're sure the Supreme Court is, well, I'm not sure, but we're hoping the Supreme Court will find that there's broad latitude for states cooperatively to assist the executive branch, the federal executive branch, in carrying out immigration law. And the executive branch, the Obama administration's brief, creates an unsustainable, untenable situation of essentially saying the executive branch has the right to ignore Congress's mandates in immigration enforcement, and no state, not Arizona, not Alabama, can tell the executive branch they have to enforce the immigration laws. The American people want the immigration laws enforced. The Obama administration does not. And that is the core and the heart of this issue. For those people who want to push an amnesty program known as comprehensive reform, what they're really doing in the administration is jeopardizing any chance of convincing the American people that if Congress were to pass an amnesty, there would be real enforcement down the line. You're putting your finger on this question of the rule of law and citizenship and sovereignty. The administration's position that basically says we can suspend the rule of law for millions of people who broke our immigration laws strikes at the core of the cornerstone of citizenship, which is the respect for the rule of law. And that's part of the reason why this case has really, become so important. The administration itself, for political reasons, apparently to garner what it believes is the Latino vote, is trying to pander to a particular ethnic group by saying we're not going to enforce the law that the American people have every right to expect be enforced. Now, we of course believe that that's not true. We know Latino voters are very committed to immigration law enforcement. We know that Republicans have done very well with strong immigration control positions. We know that Governor Brewer is an extremely popular politician. I certainly want to applaud her. Russell Pierce, who paid the ultimate sacrifice in a recall election, highly political, but their leadership has been instrumental in helping bring this issue to national attention. Ultimately, the question of state action in assisting in immigration law enforcement will be an issue for the American people over the next 25 or 30 years. It is true that illegal immigration from Mexico has slowed. Why has it slowed? Our economy's in the tank. We don't have any jobs. Our debt is overburdened. We're overburdened with debt. Our taxes are all going to be increasing. And at the same time, the demographics in Mexico suggest that we're beginning to see a diminution in the growth of the Mexican labor force. But there's a whole lot of people in other countries around the world who would like to move to the United States. And so the sooner we get our house in order and figure out what we need to do to enforce our immigration laws effectively and meaningfully, the better off we'll be as a nation.